Okay, thanks for the introduction. I'm Matthias. I work at JetBrains as developer advocate. Before that, for some time as a developer. And today I will give you a presentation about Rider, what it is, and how you can work with it. So since I see Stefan here, and he also attended the meetup 2 weeks ago in Oxford. So this is not exactly, just to set expectations, right? This is not like a part or something. So I will pretty much go through the same things. Usually I don't have a list of. I do this spontaneously, like every time, because my one single, or it's not the only, but one of my goals is to show the discoverability, to show the main features, just to properly navigate around in Rider. And by navigate, I mean not just navigation, but how you use it. But yeah, just to set expectations, right? But I will still be glad if you stay, Stefan. Okay, so far so good. And I will also mention it right at the beginning. First, you can ask questions at any time. That's actually also the reason why I give these more often, because the interactivity is really the part that I like about it, and just can't get enough of it. You see, me too. And also, if you never forget about this, not only me, but also my colleagues, Khalid, Martin, Rachel, Matt, we are always open. I hope I didn't forget anyone. We are also always open for your questions. So if you have anything particular where you say, okay, this doesn't look smart enough, how I do it, then just ping us and we will try to help. So a bit of introduction about Rider and this cross-platform IDE, basically. This is a draft. It must have been implemented way before I joined JetBrains, but it was the first attempt, let's say, of JetBrains.net IDE, which was running ReSharper. So standalone, not hosted in Visual Studio or anything. And you see, for instance, these are rendered. For instance, it's not really the editor part. So to have the XML documentation there. But yeah, this is not something we actually, let's say, pursued over the time, but particularly with the move of .NET going cross-platform, which was a couple of years, I don't know exactly when it was, something around 2016 maybe. Then we really had the need to provide something that works cross-platform. And the question for us was, okay, ReSharper is more or less it's not really an UI, really, because Visual Studio is the UI for everything, or for most part at least. But what do we use as a front end? And the natural idea here was to use IntelliJ platform, which is our own platform that runs many of our IDEs, including, I'm sure you've heard about IntelliJ. Was actually for me the first IDE I met, besides Eclipse at this time, I think, because I was mostly on Java during university, and only later forced all my classes to let me do the assignments in .NET. But yeah, IntelliJ, WebStorm, PyCharm, basically everything that we've got is running on the IntelliJ platform. And this runs on the JVM. Then we have, in speaking of architecture, we are using what we had in Visual Studio as the ReSharper host, which still runs on .NET Framework or .NET Core. .NET Core, I hope I'm not outdated with this information, but .NET Core is currently non-Windows systems. Before that, we also used Mono, but of course, I mean, you can guess, moving to .NET Core, is very attractive for all the various performance improvements there. And this yields the question, how do these two communicate with each other? And that is a lightweight protocol. You can put all the fancy attributes there, which is highly interprocedural and reactive and all that stuff. Basically to have this inter-process communication between the two, where both can signal the other part what is currently happening, what features should be shown, what's up with this with the source code, how's the debugger doing, etc. So this is actually I removed that diagram, but this is actually an architecture that goes through the whole that is not only used for front and back end, but also for the debugger, also for the Unity editor, which is, I'm not sure if everyone is familiar, which is used for game development, and many other things. Also Windows not Windows Preview, how's it called? WPF Preview is working in that particular way. So you have many tiny processes that communicate with each other. And the real benefit here is, and this is, I will give a disclaimer here, because I'm sharing screen. My MacBook is not the newest. I just made the request to get one of the new ones. But yeah, when I wasn't under so much pressure with sharing, or my system was sharing screen, etc., then the real benefit, and even now, of course, is, how do I say, the front-end process, that part that we want to be snappy, is not occupied with heavy loaded operations. So assume, like it has been for years, and currently there's still the effort moving this out of process, but ReSharper and Visual Studio. And the thing about .NET is, and I'm not sure in the JVM probably too, but if garbage collection hits in, then all threads are stopping. And this is something that that we experience as lags in the IDE, and that is something this architecture naturally tries to avoid. Yeah? So it should be snappy as it can be, and everything that runs in the background process basically can halt for a moment, and you won't really notice it. Okay, so often the question occurs: what is the did you implement writer from? Oh, can you still see me? At least my video is frozen.
Yep, I can see you. Yep.
Okay. Well. For me, it was frozen for me. Okay, thanks.
It did freeze for a second.
Okay, so the question sometimes is, did you re-implement something or alike? And this is not an exact number. It probably has changed, but most part of ReSharper is actually reused. All the language-specific stuff, like for C# is reused in settings and infrastructure and all that is reused inside Writer. Meanwhile, even the option pages are declared in code. So every time ReSharper team does something cool, we will get it too. The only part, and this is again really interesting about Writer, one of the parts we don't use from ReSharper is TypeScript JavaScript support. Instead, I'm not sure how it's meanwhile, but at that time, WebStorm seemed like a much better choice. So we picked WebStorm, which is also a standalone IDE for web development. So we choose WebStorm to handle that. And that leads me to my next slide, which is we also heavily share infrastructure and features with the IntelliJ platform. And that is just insane. It always amazes me I hope it amazes you too over the time when you're already using Rider. But every time IntelliJ team does something, we benefit from that too. And including all the old features that have been developed over years and years, like VCS integration is really, really solid in IntelliJ. The command line is not just a command line. It has many tiny little features that are really cool. Okay, then simple stuff like bookmarks, custom themes, of course. I'm not that too much into that. Search everywhere. I will show right at nearly at the beginning, probably, which also allows you to set settings right from the search dialog and much more, and Git history and all that. Scratch files is a really cool concept, particularly for HTTP requests. You can compare stuff to do Explorer, and the many thousands of plugins that already existed before, again, which are partially, of course, or for most part, language agnostic, but also some we had in ReSharper, we migrated over to Rider as well. So yeah, there's just a lot. Okay, and this leads me to demo time. And yeah, I will still start with a couple of simple things, probably, just because things that you've probably seen in ReSharper before, but I forgot to. I mean, you can tell me in the chat if everyone is just using Rider, then I could skip that. But I think this is some parts. Even if you know ReSharper, some things are not that obvious. But just to say, I will also start with a couple of things that probably feel familiar to ReSharper users. I will start with simplification. And yeah, also one note, I will probably switch between abstract examples and actual like stories that I recently experienced. If you have any questions at any time and you think, okay, why should I care about this particularly, then let me know and I will explain. But then for most part, it's actually, I can already say that it's about different workflows. So every developer has their own workflow, how to do things. And many times we support many of these workflows, and yeah. So I will start with something simple, simplification. And this is basically about if we develop something, then, and it happens to me still constantly, from my mind, if I put my mind into code, then in some cases, in most of the cases, I end up with something that is not as simple as it can be. Okay, many Rider users, I'm trying following the chat. So not immediately it's as simple as it can be. And I guess this one is a good example because if you look at it, it might not be immediately clear what it does. I mean, it takes a moment at least. But this is something where Rider and ReSharper also are really good at. So because you get this inspection, it tells you can simplify that, you can replace, you see we have a negation outside and inside of the Lambda. Also Rider beginners, that's good to hear. So we can simplify that simply with the Alt-Enter hotkey, which is basically, this is probably the most important one. So some time ago, we were actually printing t-shirts with Alt-Enter and stuff like that. Okay, so I will just choose that to simplify that. And you can see the negation basically was eliminated. And afterwards, I can also go here and convert this particular thing to a method group. And this has way much less characters, obviously. But I think this is really clear to read immediately, yeah, on the first try, basically. And this is something that will can go through your whole code, yeah, just to make things easier and immediately recognize what's going on. Then I still like this example. You know, Stefan, every time I say something, now I feel weird telling you again, but I will do it anyways. Okay, so if you copy code from somewhere, you know, like from a review from Stack Overflow or something, then this is pretty obvious by now, I think. But you can import the stuff, and it will add the using for you. Not only that, but also, I think I see other people, because I have a library, you know, and I see other people that don't immediately notice the extension methods that I have defined for my library. IDEA and ReSharper go ahead and will list you all the extension methods, even if they're not imported yet. So you see, I don't have system link imported here, but it will still show, and you can just choose from the list. Yeah, you can also filter that, of course, and it will add the using import or the using directive. Okay, let's remove this. Another thing, very cool. It's not that often that I add new NuGet packages, but particularly, you know, if you test something, if you jump around with code and yeah, approach something new, then you might end in a situation where you copy code and you don't have this import namespace. Now, what you can do in this case is go to this little item here. Again, I'm using Alt Enter, and we can say, let's find this type on NuGet. And this, come on. Okay, now it seems like it's doing something. Okay, usually it's a bit faster, but I don't know. Seems like my connection is a bit broken. But anyway, this talks to a web service that we provide. This web service constantly crawls all the NuGet packages, indexes them, what types are available, etc. And now I can just go ahead, say NUnit import or install basically. Now it's installed. Now I can go back. And by the way, if you're focused in a tool window, then you can just hit Control Shift, you know, because I also want to educate, let's say, a bit on how to not use the mouse. This is probably the most important philosophy that we're trying to follow in many of the with many of the features. Anyway, sometimes I will use the mouse, but now I can go back here and just import the reference. Okay, so far so good. Now I'll move over to navigation, because I probably also said that last time. But my professor back in university, he said the most part you will be doing in your job is navigation. You don't write that much code. It's probably, you know, a couple of lines per hour, which is, yeah. He was right, apart from the debugging part, that is also enormous. But yeah, let's focus on navigation. And the first thing I want to show you here is there are two shortcuts actually. For previously ReSharper users, there's the Control T shortcut. And this is basically the same as if we use double shift. I kind of, over the years now, I moved to double shift. Also because I think Alfred for me is on double options key. So it's very natural. And this opens the search everywhere pop-up. And from here, we can just search pretty much everything. Not only can we search by initial letter search, let's say, like vehicle base, and you see one time we have the file, one time we have the type. And by the way, at this point, I just want to mention, I talked about the architecture of IDEA, and sorry. And this is something cool, because when you're opening, and let's just assume you have a very, very big solution. You know, it takes a bit of time until Rider and ReSharper parse the model and they have the knowledge about the available types. But one thing that is almost immediately available is search by files. Yeah. So while the whole solution is still booting up, it already knows about the files, and this is particularly helpful if you just want to make a quick change in some place, but after that you still might want to continue, but you can immediately go there. Even though it's not fully loaded, you can navigate to that file. But if I have that knowledge about the types and the whole how can I better describe it, the whole semantic model and the syntax is parsed, etc., then we can also search like this, like vehicle base, and then for the move method, and you have all the overloads, of course. And we can just go there. Okay, from a certain type, we can go up or down the hierarchy tree. So, for instance, we can navigate to the base type or to derived types. Yeah, now you might want to. I use shortcuts now. Okay, but since I don't want to tell you all the shortcuts, and possibly they're also different for you, I will show you how to do it without shortcuts. And that is usually, or pretty much in every case, the navigation works based on the context that you're setting. So by context, I mean the caret is currently on this vehicle base. So it knows, okay, next action I want to use is probably some kind somehow related to a class. And now I can go double shift and use, it's called base type. It's called, no, it's called implementations. Implementations, yeah. Sometimes, I know, here, base symbols, sorry. Sometimes the list is a bit long, but usually if you go through, then you will see, and it usually also, not for everything probably, but for many actions, it also has some kind of synonyms that are known, like for base symbols. I guess it will also use, I don't know, derived is the other thing. Yeah, but for many actions, it will also recognize synonyms for what you're searching for. And now back to the shortcuts. This is the way how you discover Rider. You search for an action that you might be interested in, and I still find things that I didn't know exist, even though it's pretty much my work to know this IDE. But you can search for actions and not only find them, but also see the shortcuts that are currently already assigned to them. So this is a bit cryptic because I'm on Mac OS, but this is basically FN options and left, I think, which stands for Alt Home, I think, on Windows PCs. So I can use that shortcut, or I just click here to actually do the navigation. Yeah, and this is how you discover it. And from this iVehicle, I want to show you one thing more related to shortcuts. It's let's say we're looking for extension methods, for instance. No, let's go back here. Extension, if I can write properly. Extension methods. So this is another navigation feature. And let's just assume this is an action you're probably going to use more often. Then what you can do is assign a shortcut. So here, there's the shortcut to assign a shortcut. Then you will go into this dialog. But one thing I forgot probably mentioning here is for this to work, you have to be, and you can use tab to go through this through these groups. You have to be in the actions group, I think. Otherwise, you won't see it. But yeah, be in the actions group. And actions, by the way, also has its own shortcut. And then you can assign a shortcut. So speaking of these extension methods, let's just use that. this is the list of extension methods that are available for iVehicle. Let's assume for a moment, and this is not just for the extension methods pop-up, but for pretty much everything. If you search for a type, if you search for derived types, what you can do is start typing to filter down the result set. This works everywhere. This is again about keyboard, being keyboard centric, what we value so much when developing this IDE. Should be keyboard accessible. And also fun fact, I like to think this is intended, but it's also sorted from being more special to more general. So here we have iVehicle, then comes generic, and then typed to object. So yeah, it's something good to know, I guess. Okay, let's go back. What else? We had this, I think, to-do explorer. I mean, this is pretty obvious, so I won't show it. Favorites is cool because you can put bookmarks there. It will also have the list of breakpoints and stuff like that. But it actually also leads me to something else, which is Control Tab. Control Tab, probably everyone knows, yeah. So you can Control Tab and just move through the files that you have opened. Once I release it, I navigate there. Okay, so this is different in Writer, but also in ReSharper. Sorry, because there's something much cooler, and this is, it's called recent files. So for me, it's Control Comma. And now see, I'm hands-free. So this is something, this works similarly to this Control Tab, but it will stay open. And the real benefit, just like I said, is you can again start typing. Yeah, we can not only search for files like this, but we can also search for our favorites tool window, for instance. You know, just to open that particularly. I don't know. I don't think I lied about the breakpoints, but I think they will only show up once I set something. I don't know. Usually they should show up. But you will discover that. Okay. One other thing about this. One other thing. Yeah, Stu, let me show you something else. One other thing about this recent files is you can hit the shortcut again, and it will shrink down, or it will actually put a check mark here and show only the edited places, the recently edited places, which is good. You know, like my professor back then said, you will navigate a lot, but you know how this works. You implement something. And this is actually one more thing I need to show you about navigation. But you implement something, you're looking at some other places just to be sure what you're doing is right, and then you want to go back. But you visited so many files, you only want to go back to the last edited location, right? So this is something you can do. You can do even better because there's also a recent, no, it's called last edit location. This will not even show you this this pop-up, but it will just go back to the last edited location. So let's do this. This was the last location I've edited. Yeah.
Love that. I think the default on my keyboard layout is Command minus, and I sort of navigate back through. But having that list is really great. I'm going to start using that. We've had a question from Rapton about the quick search being so fast. He's wondering if there's some sort of indexing that's going on there.
So probably. There are many different parts here, really. Classes, like I said, it's Writer has its, or IntelliJ platform. They have their own model of a file system. I'm not particularly sure if that is cached in some way. I do think because you also have this reload all from disk. So there's some file watcher probably. So yeah, parts of it probably. Symbols, this is actually also something that is cached. Yeah, once the solution was fully loaded before, there is some cache that we save to not on the next launch. You know, a question that I get quite often. So it won't go through all the files on the next start. It will just reload what it has collected before. Actions are in the program, and Git actually also is something that is indexed. Yeah. So this repository, you know, it's just a playground repository. So this is not big, but our .NET repository has 500,000 commits. And search is just amazingly fast. It's just, you know, I have another solution open here. If I search for help, it's comparably fast with that. Yeah. So you just search for something, and I'll probably get back to this, but you also have completion here. I'm not sure if Rodney did anything with help. No, but it's all the different search aspects you can add there. So yeah, depends on what group you're currently in. But yeah, it is pretty fast, I think. Also, this is something I think even this might also be cached, find in files. I'm not too sure. And actually, let me check something. No, this was working differently. Oh, yeah. But one thing I forgot to see, let's say you have a typo. This is also pretty cool because, you know, I'm looking for console, and it's not the first entry, you know, because there's something that matches better. But the thing here is, if you're looking for something, you don't want to be, you know, blocked by a simple typo. I find this really valuable, particularly if you work with new files, that it's to some degree a bit forgiving, and doesn't block you from moving on. And of course, yeah, this is something that, let's see, that has been a bit broken for me, but you can also decompile code. So like console, if you're interested how the console works, you can actually also go there and put a breakpoint there. So this works, yeah. Or particularly if, okay, this ships with source, how's it called? I constantly forget the name. Source link, where the source files are embedded. So if the source files are not embedded, Writer will decompile it. But in this case, you see this is the proper header. It doesn't say decompiled. So this is taken from the package. But even when it's decompiled, you have the ability to debug. Okay, where did I stop? But let me just quickly. Yeah, the question that I said I do get often. So I will read it. Does Writer use solution files in the same way as Visual Studio? And yes, it does. This would be pretty annoying, I would say, if you consider some teams are mixed. So some might use Visual Studio Code, Writer, you know. So this will deal with the solution file just normally, let's say. And I'm pretty sure besides a couple of additional files that might be lying around, your team colleagues won't notice, yeah? Except that you're writing better code, of course. Okay, a little joke aside. But yeah, actually, I believe in it. Okay, Stu actually also answered it. And yeah, and you actually also mentioned the IDEA folder, yeah. Okay, last thing I mentioned was the navigation. Yeah, exactly. One thing it might be obvious, but I will still show it. And maybe, yeah, move, yeah. This is something I also forgot. See, it's so many things. Yeah, I really have a hard time not forgetting something. I showed a couple of navigation features, and it might be not obvious to you. Okay, what are the navigation features? I showed you how you can search here, but it would be pretty good if there was a extension methods, if there was a place where everything is shown, right, just for you to discover. This is something that you can do with Alt Enter here. So Alt Enter, and then let's go to Navigate to, and again you can also filter from here, Navigate to, and this shows the complete list of what navigation methods you can use. Yeah, something that's also interested, and I think one of the recent additions is, okay, but we have to be on a type, is Navigate to consuming APIs, which you can use with CQRS, for instance, for your event handlers. Find usages. Okay, find usages is actually something that I wanted to use now. There is, let me see. There are two shortcuts. There's find usages. There's find usages, and there's also, how's it called? I forgot. Okay, I will show you another thing. This happens to me regularly, that I know the shortcut and I don't know what it actually does. So you can go to Preferences, go here, and then just hit the shortcuts from here. This is not the thing, this one. So it's find usages, and the other is I actually also forgot the shortcut, but you see my point about finding the action.
There's a question from Nick. Apologies for interrupting your flow.
Sure.
Going back to the project thing, is there a recommended approach other than SLN when using Rider in terms of sort of grouping projects? And that actually also leads on to a cheeky feature request. I know that Visual Studio has .slnf files, which are like solution filter files, where you may have common, like you may have a big solution and you're like, well, this is the web filter where I have the web project on, and this is like the client filter where I just have these two projects. Is that a thing that has a Rider flavor of it? And is that a standard, the solution filter thing that you would consider supporting? I know there's a ticket open.
It's really sad that Stefan is not at the keyboard because last time he was also answering.
Oh, he's back.
So
yes, Rider does understand solution filter files as well.
Yeah, so it does. This is actually the grouping I think that the question was about. So you can use solution filters. I'm personally not using them. But yeah, it does support that. I don't even know. I mean, editing is pretty easy with solution filters. But yeah, this exists.
Awesome.
Okay, now, okay. This is the thing I was looking for. There's find usages and show usages. Really poor naming, if you ask me. I will be completely honest. This naming, you saw, it trips me off. Find usages will show you this whole thing in a separate tool window, and you can just go through and then hit enter to navigate there, or hit shift escape to go back. But then there's also find show usages, which shows a pop-up in line where you currently are, and now from here, and usually I use car as an example, I think. Show usages. You see, by the way, every time you go here, it shows the last action that you used. I know. Let me see. Or was it this one? I don't know. But actually, yeah, what I wanted to say is you can filter that as well. Yeah, because many times, at least for me, and I'm sure there are some other people out there that work the same way. But you remember this method was used in a particular context, and you remember something else from that line of code, and you can just type it and it will filter down. Okay. There's also show recent locations. I will just show that for a moment. Works similarly to recent files, just shows a bigger portion of what you were working at. And this is also still for you, Stu, particularly because he said this might be cool. See this little icon here on the right? It doesn't show a tooltip, unfortunately. Yeah, now it does. But you can hit that shortcut, Shift Enter, to just open in a split view. Yeah, so like that. And afterwards, we can unsplit. Okay. What else? I think that's enough for navigation. I will go to my favorite editing stuff. And maybe quick question. I forgot asking that up front, but what is is it open end, or do you have like a preferred time when I should end? I like open end pretty much, to be honest.
Sorry, I was trying to get unmuted. At the end of the day, you had originally said that it was about an hour. I'm fine with you going beyond that. I have no issue with that.
Great. Oh my God, it's 10 before already. Jesus. Okay, but editing. Let me start with string is not so. Let's start with statements. So for quite some time, I was using the German keyboard, and the German keyboard is horrible in terms of writing curly braces. I actually, what I did was to add a live template, so like a snippet, would be a snippet in Visual Studio, where I just type BR for braces, then complete, and it will add the braces for me and put the cursor inside. So I still, I don't have it any longer. But then at some point I learned, and that was very early in the beginning when I joined JetBrains, I learned about another shortcut, which is complete statement. And this not only works for statements, but also for declarations. And let me just use that. And you can be anywhere in your, in that what you have written, that shortcut, and it will complete the statement for you, or declaration. Put your caret inside the block and you can continue writing. Now, beyond that, let's say we have like a buff, I just have some notes there. But let's say we are typing some condition. Here, it works the same way. Or let's say we're writing the number, and sometimes, you end up with something where the semicolon is still missing. Here, it works the same way, puts the caret on the next line and be done. So this is quite helpful, to not just go at the end of the line and then or miss the semicolon. It became pretty much, even if the semicolon is already there, it became pretty much my default for this is one thing I'm finished with. Let's go to the next statement I want to write. Selection is pretty much my favorite feature, plus multi-caret, which will follow shortly afterwards. So this is code I don't really like. Yeah. For one reason, this is, if you wanted to debug stuff like that, it's hard to debug because this whole collection that we're iterating is in the for each. The only way is for me to debug that is to copy the whole thing, paste it into the debugger, into the immediate window, and use a watch. And it's not really great. Also, it's not really clear what happens here. So one thing that is really, really cool for refactorings is the extend selection shortcut. And that comes, and you see it's Command W, and then that comes with shrink selection. So Shift Command W. And that allows me to select portions of my code which are structurally related. So I'm basically selecting structurally from my code. Yeah. So I can expand, and next time it will go to the for each method body, method, class body, class, namespace, etc. Until this point where you should use, you know, Command A to select all. But this shortcut is really cool because you can introduce variables from that. So okay, that was a bit too fast. But again, I will use the actions dialog here. We can say introduce variable, for instance. This is the shortcut, so I can use that, rename that, and let's say this is the sorted even numbers. It's a bit clearer, and now I can go ahead for this as well. I don't really know what I've done here. Power of 2, yeah, it's just something, you know. And this is much easier to debug, and this is pretty much how I refactor my code when I end up with long stuff, long link chains where I think it's worth extracting. This is how I do it. Then, like as promised, there's also multi-caret. And for multi-caret, not entirely sure which example should I use. You know, I have some notes here beside, and multi-caret is pretty much the single item that I used in a bunch of scenarios where they've helped me. I will use source generators. So here, I have a source generator project, which is, where is it? Last one here. And if you've worked with source generators, then you know that they have a very, how to say, obscure way of packing them and referencing external projects. So there was one time when I learned that how it's done with Newtonsoft JSON. And I think this is even the example that they use for the cookbook for source generators. But once I got here, just like with JetBrains annotations, and I discovered that this package is missing basically from the packed NuGet package. And then I was here and basically thought, and just suppose it's missing here. But then I thought, okay, Newtonsoft JSON, it should behave pretty much like that. And I just wanna apply the same thing for JetBrains annotations. So what I did then was just going around, and yeah, I was actually selecting from here and used the shortcut, which is called next occurrence. Let's search for occurrence. Where is it? What is the shortcut? There is one. Select all occurrences. Okay, it doesn't show. Yeah, it's probably that, but it doesn't show the exact shortcut that I'm using. But anyway, now you see I've selected all the places. I have multi-caret support now, and now I could also duplicate that line. And now let's say, okay, this doesn't fully work, but I could also go ahead and just write JetBrains annotations here. I know the first I can fix manually, and this is basically how I've done it. I fixed also the version, of course, but this is how I've done this, just to find, okay, what are the places with my multi-caret, and not to forget anything, because this is sometimes you just have to work based on text without any refactoring tools or something. I also recently had that. I'm not too sure if I have it here. No, probably no. But I was trying to add a full new file with extension methods, and I used the name for the parameter. I think it was xnode extensions, exactly here. And And I actually, first I started with X document, and I forgot to rename this particular node here to, it still said document. Okay, so what do? Go through all the methods. They were not used yet, yeah, but what do? Go through all the methods? No, but you can just put your caret there and say, okay, and say select all. Now I've selected all, and now I will revert it back to document. But this is the way how I deal with changes that where refactoring tools are not the right choice, basically. And also, one more example, I will do it. Let's say we have binding flags and you want to have, let's just assume we want to have fields from them. You could also pick any other list of information. So let's try this. I could select this, for instance. Okay, select everything. Now I go one back. Now as I do this expand selection, now you see this really, how do you say, works with each other. I'm sure there's a better word for that. Multi-caret. So let's paste this here. Now, yeah, there's a bit of formatting, but you can just, we could move the whole list to the left. Okay, and now there's actually also a shortcut for that, but let's do this. Indent a little, and now I can use private read-only bool. Oh, I dropped one letter. Private bool. And now let's say you also want to have proper naming, right? So you can just select the first character of each and then say toggle. It's called toggle case. Yeah, toggle case. Now it's properly named. Yeah. Okay, no new questions. Yeah, so this is pretty great. One more thing, and I will switch to, yeah, I have some other ideas what I can show, but language injections. Let me see if I have my database connected. And of course I don't. Do I have it in my other project maybe? Yeah, here. Do I have to connect? So this is something that I really, you can say more or less discovered very recently. So I don't work with databases. Sorry, I have a. Oh no, probably my IP changed, which is really bad because now I can't show you the feature. Okay. This is okay. I will show it in a different way. Language injections. So whenever you have a string or something, and you actually don't need this. You don't need this comment. But if you have a string and you know this is a regular expression, you can Alt Enter, mark as injected code, and then say regular expression. This is something otherwise you have to constantly look up. Yeah. But with that selection, or by making it aware that this is a place where a regular expression is written down, you get this nice little completion, and you can see the character classes. And it will also, if you have capture groups, this will actually work. I can show you this in Git repository. I think Git repository. There is a. Okay, I should search for groups. Yeah, exactly. So this will also know about the capturing groups that you've defined in your regex, like here. And then you can just pick from one. But let's go back. So yeah, this also exists for HTML, for a couple of others. And most importantly, this was what I wanted to show you for JSON. No, not for JSON, for SQL. And this has This has DataGrip integrated, which is a separate product actually, but you will get it with Writer. And this can also help you to write SQL statements right inside here. So now I don't have completion for that, but then you can do stuff like that and you will have completion for the table. You can, if you go back here, you can expand. Now it won't show that, but you can expand that asterisk to all the columns that are defined in that table. You can do joins and everything, and Writer will help you to get it right. It will actually use that information, which is described with foreign keys and all that stuff, to actually do the join right from the start for you. But yeah, unfortunately, IP changed. Might be related to my connection issues. Postfix templates, my absolute favorite. One person unfortunately misses this cool stuff now. I will do let's do a test. What is the? We can't actually do it, but try to think about how would you initialize a new string builder and how many keystrokes do you need for that? And I will try it just now. So, but before I will just say it. Usually, probably something like this. String builder. Okay, it's yeah. By the way, this is also something very tiny. You see, I'm with my caret, I'm inside the braces. I hit semicolon, puts it at the end. Yeah, I think no. In some places it's not obvious to me when, but in some places it will also do this with other methods and the dot that you put there. But yeah, in this case, I forgot. But let's go back to initializing a string builder. Let's do it with postfix templates. SB, let's pick string builder. So now I have the type. Now all I have to do is say dot, and there are a couple of templates here, which are, well, they're not static methods or something for string builder, but they are the postfix templates. And from here, I could say V for var, hit enter, and it's initialized. It's created a new object expression. Now I will go, I prefer builder in that case, and I'm done. Yeah, this was everything. And these postfix templates, every time I talk about them, I get reminded of Yoda speak, you know, where yeah, well, you know how Yoda speaks, but also it from my point of view, it puts the thought more at the beginning of what you're actually typing. Like, for instance, you want to iterate the numbers. Yeah, so the first thing you're thinking about are these numbers. Yeah, so let's say numbers and then for each. Boom, we have a for each statement, also properly named already. Then we could check for, is number even? Yeah, I write the condition. Just after the fact, I complete this to an if statement. Okay, and now I can just yield that. Yeah, these postfix templates exist for a lot of things. I think we don't have a list inside Writer. Google for it. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Okay, analysis. Let's talk about analysis. I will use an example from C#8, but be sure C#10 will get. Oh no, let me start with that question. Another question, please. Sorry for the interruption. No worries. Is there a way to apply code formatting solution-wide without having to do it file by file? A quick shortcut or hidden option? Code formatting. Yeah, sure. Just select the solution node. Okay, now I forgot what was the shortcut. Anyway, I will do it with yeah. Sometimes I forget them as well. Right-click solution, reformat and cleanup, and from here you have different profiles. What I used this for just recently is to update my file header in my whole solution. But you can also, if you go here, you can choose from a variety of things. You can say you want to optimize imports, which will remove unused usings, rearrange code, many things. Reformat code is actually also pretty cool. I will just show you that now. Let's go back. So if let's say you mess around with your code a bit, yeah, stuff like this. So yeah, in many places it will do this automatically. Let's say you end up with something really messy. Again, this is a shortcut that I forgot. It's called reformat code. Yeah, okay. So it's on Windows PCs, it would be Control Alt Enter and be done. This is done for the whole file. It's fast. It also doesn't need the semantic model, which is the semantic model. I think it's needed for cleanup code because we want to remove usings and all that stuff. So for that, in some cases, it takes a bit longer. Just to be quite honest here, but reformat code is fast because it only works based on the syntax tree, on the AppSec syntax tree. Okay, but back to C#8. What I wanted to say is this work will work. Well, we will have similar features for C#10, of course. I'm currently preparing the blog post for that. Will actually be serious. But one thing that I think Writer and ReSharper do really well is helping you apply new language features more easily. Because sometimes it takes a bit of time until you get used to the new features. And, there's this whole discussion, do we even need new features? Because there are 10 different ways, speaking of which, to do null checking, like in this case, yeah. See, this is the number of null checking ways that we've accumulated over time. But anyway, Writer will help you to apply these in your code base. And one way is, of course, you can use index from end expression here, because we don't need this array length -2 and all that. But you can actually also go here and then say, use this index from end expression in my whole solution. That might take a bit, yeah, but what's better? You can just sit back, relax, and say, okay, Writer did work for well, hopefully not 10 minutes, but depends on the solution, of course. But then say, okay, this is what I've done. I've migrated our solution to the new language features. Yeah, so let's do this. Also, let's go here. This is just another example, because we can use using declarations as opposed to using statements. So let's do this in the whole method, and you can see the second was also converted. Also, it makes you aware, if you're using async, for instance. Wrong place. Can I mark it async from here, by the way? I'm not too sure. Make static, no. Make async, no. Okay, let's just put async here. Now it will also make you aware you could use the async versions of all these, yeah? Like with using, let's do this again, here, also use the async overload, and stuff like that. It's different from feature to feature. One good example for the upcoming one is the usage of file scope namespaces, where you don't need to write it like this here, but instead of having this rather unnecessary indentation, you can just say namespace A, and that's it. That's the namespace for the whole file. Yeah, for these things, it's really, really cool. Here with nullability, I just want to quickly show you this is so cool. not all the issues can be solved that easily, probably, just like with nullability in this case. Let's say we enabled nullable reference types in our project. In this case, it's just the file. Okay, now you want to go through and you have all these warnings, and you want to fix them. There's a shortcut which says, I think it's called next error. Very, very weird shortcut here. Yeah, just search for it at the beginning. And this allows me to go through my code base and see what's wrong. In this case, okay, nullable property uninitialized, okay, so I could actually fix that from here, but I can also fix it from, let's do this again, from here, possible null reference assignment, can Alt-Enter, change the type of the property, next issue. Okay, this is just unused, probably shouldn't happen too often in your code base, particularly when you have solution-wide analysis enabled, because then you can globally say for sure that a method might not be used and then just delete it. Yeah, don't keep it. It's just noise, at least for me. But then here we can move on and say, okay, suppress this nullable warning with the damn it operator, because is valid basically should check for null. This is how you can do it. Yeah, and this is also really helpful to get to a state where you no longer have any warnings and your whole file is clear, which is what we're all striving for, right? Solutions without warnings. What a dream. Okay, what's the time? Oh yeah. See, it takes time talking about Rider. I still remember one of my meetups I had in Berlin, and at that time I was still talking about ReSharper, and it took 2.5 hours. Yeah, that much. Okay, heap allocations. Always warnings as errors for non-debug builds. Yeah, could agree. Yeah. 2 plugins I want to point out, which are where are they? Plugins here, which are cognitive complexity and heap allocation viewer. Now they are both, they go good along each other, I think, because they are both about something that is just to make you aware of where an issue might be. It doesn't necessarily mean that's an issue, but it makes you aware what's happening. Heap allocation viewer, I will start with that, allows you to see where allocations are happening inside your code. Like for instance here, enumerator allocation. Here we have a delegate allocation for method group. In this case with the Lambda, we can see that this reference is captured. Here we can also see string is captured. We can see boxing, string concatenation, the obvious ones. There's something, and you have to search for that. Sorry, this takes too much time to show. There's something called DPA, Dynamic Program Analysis, which helps you, or which automatically profiles your application and tells you about places that don't look good. For instance, if you're constantly allocating a large array or something, then DPA will tell you about it, and you can navigate there, and then you will probably, these indicators, those will help you to spot the place much faster. Yeah, I think even then DPA will directly navigate to the issue. But anyway, I think you get my point. Cognitive complexity. Now, many of you will have probably heard about cyclomatic complexity. And yeah, many of you might probably have heard about cyclomatic complexity. What was the person who invented it? I forgot. But anyway, Cognitive complexity is a metric that was invented by someone at Sonosource. So full credit to sorry, I forgot the name. Anne Campbell. You can also, there's the paper is actually linked here. And they tried to overcome an issue with cyclomatic complexity, which is, yeah, McCabe, exactly. McCabe did cyclomatic complexity. And they tried to overcome an issue with cyclomatic complexity, which is that these two methods here, foo and bar, they have the same amount of for each statements. They will yield the same complexity metric value. And yes, it is about branching, etc. I get that, but many times people took that for granted, that this is an indicator for how complex is my method. But what we really care is more how cognitive complex is a particular method. And this is implemented in this plugin, because you can see this version gets a very complex, 200% of the threshold, while the other one is just mildly complex. As we change our method, this will also change. So with just two, it's there's also simple enough, but you can actually configure that from the options. But anyway, this will show you the places where complexity sits, and I will give you an example. What is this group here? Okay, let's go to target. This is actually just something that target factory. This is something that I just recently used it, and where it was pretty helpful, in case it's not obvious to you. Okay, so I've actually done the refactoring already, but let's say I will revert that for a moment. So from file history, I can go to show it in Git log. Okay, one more time, show in Git log. Yeah, okay. And now I can revert this change just for that file. Okay, it's a single file anyway. Revert that, okay. Now what I did here, and you see very complex. And it kind of is, yeah. And thanks, have a good evening. And just to see where the issues are here, you can click once on that code vision item. So basically like code lens in Visual Studio. And now you see these little marks here in your code. For each receives one penalty. This condition receives one penalty. Down further here, this for each. With every nested for each, we get additional penalty. So you can see this is the most impactful one, because it adds 3. Couple more. So what I did in the end was extracting this whole for each into a new method and apply that from the outside. Yeah. This is basically what I've done. And of course we can roll back. Let's roll back changes for this one. Yeah. And this is what I ended up with. And now I had basically simple enough. I have threshold value of 10% of the threshold. And also this seems easy enough. And I ended up with just apply dependencies, which I think was a cool experience with that plugin. What else can I show you? Give me a moment. Pattern matching. Oh yeah, for pattern matching, it's great. So I will just use this really simple, really quickly. You know, see if else, blah blah. Convert to switch expression, much easier. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to. Okay. This is another case, just like I said before with the databases. I'm usually only library and stuff like that, what I work with. And recently, what I also had to do was doing something with Docker. Again, totally not proficient with it. But I guess this is something that Docker users will really like. So I will give just the situation. I wanted to use a tool that sits in a Docker container, which is published. The source code is not open of that particular tool. Not yet. I think they plan to make it open. But it didn't work the way that I think it would work. Yeah. So I needed to get that file, that .NET file, from the Docker container. And what I did was basically, okay, first, what you do is, where is it? I always miss that. Not this. I think from here. Yeah, from here you can create a new container and stuff like that, and also, you know, give it a name and even more options. You can bind ports and stuff like that. Completion everywhere where it can be. But anyway, I was in this container, and then I could go to files, bin static sites. This was can I search here as well? Static. Let's do this again. Static sites client here, the DLL. And then what I did was just download to Scratch. Yeah, because then it will end up in my Scratch files down here. Scratch files, Docker files. Here it was fully downloaded. And I can view that in the Assembly Explorer. And now it's decompiled. It's decompiled. Okay, takes a moment. Now I could go in here, and particularly what I had an issue with was the actions options. So what options could I pass, and how are they? There's actually a place where action options are converted to some other options, to upload options. And it was actually a bug. Yeah, I actually found a bug because of that. I won't show it now because theoretically I'm not too sure about decompiling and showing decompiled stuff. I think for my use case, it's actually okay because it's more about, but yeah, depends on your jurisdiction, I think. So I won't do it. Yeah, don't tell anyone. Okay, so this was something where Docker support was really, really helpful, and it can do a bunch of other stuff also here in the services, tool window. You can also connect to Azure Storage Emulator. If you have that configured, then you will see what kind of events the storage emulator gets. There's also, if you work with Azure here on the left-hand side, you can have the Azure Explorer just to see your function apps, storage account. This also has the storage emulator. And yeah, I was actually also digging a bit into Azure Functions for the first time. And I won't open the solution right now, but what you can do, I'm actually not sure what other IDEs provide there, but it's really cool to have this in a single place, and you can just debug a single function right from inside the editor, and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, here I have some Slack requests. Okay, this almost makes it necessary to open that other solution. So let me do it. So my function stuff here. And let's see if it works. So because with this, I'm working with HTTP client and stuff like that. And same what I said before, I also don't do web APIs on a regular basis. But what has been really helpful is a feature of Rider, which is called a feature of Writer which is called scratch files, particularly those for HTTP requests, because those allow you, and you can also check them in VCS, but they allow you to quickly write HTTP requests and execute them. So here I post to the Slack API. I use authorization with my access token, and this is actually a variable that is imported from this private env JSON. And I can also use other variables that I also can check in. So these variables are actually checked in, and then I can execute that. I'm not too sure. It might be that for this, I actually deactivated the account. So currently the access token doesn't work. But then you will see the response basically inside here. You can also chain these requests to each other, and much more. There's a little link. So two things are good to know. Add environments file will add these two, so the private one and the public one. And examples is also good to know, good to see, because you can kind of see some examples on how they're used. And you can also, let me see, you can actually also, well, you have to separate them with 3, how they called, hash. This character. Let's say we're checking on Google. Doesn't make too much sense. Yeah, it has many names. The hash sign. I will tell you, I was once introduced with a talk about Unity with C# and stuff like that, and I was introduced with Unity scripting in C#. It tripped me off for a moment. I had to refrain from laughing. But yeah, just run Google, let's say. No, sorry. I should maybe create a new sketch file, because here it doesn't work. I think it only works here. So let's do this again. Google. Okay, now you can actually, you also have the history. You actually also have the history of the responses, and you can compare these responses. So now you can see what has Google sent, what is the stuff that has changed between 2 requests. So in this case, you see they, I don't know, nonce, yeah, some kind of a cookie. I don't know what it is really. But yeah, you can also view this in side by side. Yeah. This is basic VCS integration, pretty much. Okay, I think one last thing, and then we can wrap up. The last thing really is I want to show you a couple more things regarding VCS. I've already shown a couple of things, but there's always more. The most important thing about, or maybe I can show 2 last things. VCS and debugging. I will also show a couple of things about debugging, but VCS first. The most important thing for me with VCS support is the VCS operations. This is a quick list of common operations in version control, and for me it's control V. And this has all the important actions. You can commit, if you have multiple changes, you can just choose to commit the current file, show history, git blame, all the things. What I use it most often for is branches, because what I do is I hit the shortcut, hit 7 for branches, and then I type new, yeah, or I type the branch that I want to check out. Then I could just enter, would be enough here, but you can also go to the right, or let me see it. No, that branch doesn't exist anymore. Roslyn. No, this is the wrong branch. Let me see. Yeah, we could search for, let's do this again, attributes. And now you can just suppose we are on a feature branch and we would be searching for develop, let's say. Then you can just say here, rebase attributes onto develop. Yeah, that would be the more natural way of doing things. You can also, by hitting space, you can mark them as favorite. And also, this is something that we won't see right now, but if I'm not in sync with the remote, then you would also see, we could actually do a commit, you know, just to show you, because otherwise it's stupid. Okay, let's make a commit. And now you see inside branches here, develop has an outgoing change. Yeah, if you have configured regular fetching, then you would also see incoming changes with a blue arrow pointing in the different direction. So yeah, for that, VCS is really cool. Thanks for attending, Konrad. How many are we still? It's just two things. After that, I promise I will stop. 13. Yeah, I think if you stick around, I will mention a couple more things, but just two. Okay, so far for branches. One other extension that I really like is it's called Git Toolbox, and this allows you to just 1 second. This allows you to also have this little editor adornment, which basically tells you it's a bit quicker way than doing git blame. Yeah, so it shows you the last change. You can also configure it, who did the commit, but this project I maintain for most part myself. But yeah, it brings a couple of cool Git features with it. What else here? Let me see. Rollback. Okay, these are some obvious things. One thing that is probably good to know is, let's suppose, and I would do it just in a single file here. We have a secret. Sometimes we just, you know, because we are lazy and there might be a different way of doing things, but sometimes you just put secrets into your code. Yeah. I don't judge, I do it myself. But one thing that you can do to prevent yourself from accidentally committing that is to use change lists. And let's say I created another change list and I call this secret, don't commit. And now I can select this change here and put it to a different change list. Yeah, and now these two things are decoupled. So I have my secret, and there I have my other change, which was removing that line. And I can't commit from two change lists at once. Of course, I'll be completely honest. I didn't use change lists for quite some time. I know the most obvious reason for change lists is to organize your commits, because I mean you can pre-organize them as you go. You know, sometimes you might not be finished yet, so you can organize them in different change lists. But this secret stuff here, I actually do use. And yeah, you can actually also move around between changes. You can just drag and drop and all that cool stuff. You can also choose to group by repository directory, which is pretty cool. You know, for I don't know, it is anyway this repository, because you can, if you have multiple repositories in a single solution, then you can group by repository as well. This one actually has multiple repositories. And if you scroll through, so, okay, there's one main repository, let's say. Okay, I should also allow to show all repositories. But then on the left-hand side, you will also see which repository this particular commit was affecting. Okay, here's a different view for your branches, which makes it pretty or a bit easier than navigating inside here and searching for branches. But you can just go there and say, okay, foo, this is just local. I thought you can also delete them from here, but apparently not. Or maybe I'm just not seeing it. Anyway, one last thing about VCS, and this has saved my life, or at least a couple of life hours. Let's go back here in this playground. I want to set the stage real quick. Let's suppose you're working on a bug or on a new feature, and you start implementing, and at a certain point you think, okay, this is garbage. I don't need it. This is totally the wrong way. Now you undo or you roll back. You start fresh, and then you think, oh my God, the first attempt wasn't so bad after all. But now it's lost. If you haven't done a commit because you thought, oh, this is not going to work, you might have deleted it, right? What Rider and all IntelliJ IDEA IDEs bring you is the show local history feature. And this is, you can think of it as like an automatic version control system, which provides you with restore points. Let's say every once in a while it will discover, okay, there have been changes, and even if you delete those, I mean, if you do deletions in your code, this will persist for a couple of days. You can actually also configure that. I think I'm not too sure how many days it is, but yeah, it's configurable. And then you can. Now I'm navigating based on folder, but you can also do this inside for a single file, and then you can just revert for the selection or for the whole item on the left. You can actually also where have I done something interesting? Selection. Let's do it here, and let's search for even. No, theoretically this should work. I don't know why it doesn't, but you can actually search through the different entries also. So if you remember, okay, I wrote this particular string, but I deleted it, then this should also work. Maybe it's because now it's what currently is the current state. Maybe because of that, I don't know. And if it doesn't work for you, file back. Okay. So local history is just insane from my point of view. It's one of the features, you know, I many times I mean, also my other team colleagues, we get the question, what is the feature that makes you use Rider? Well, what is it that convinces people to use it? And if I had a ranking of things, then the first would be the discoverability of the whole IDE, and probably the second or third would be local history. It's just one of the features that you don't have to use often. But if you need it really, really badly. Okay, and the last thing is I want to show is some things about the debugger, not too much, but not too much. So in this case, I just have, I have a couple of make this expression button. we have a couple of methods here, and or local functions. And let's say we end up here with our debugger. So here I have my test, which is a people printer. What a fabulous name. So people printer. So I debug my test. By the way, a similar quick list also exists for unit tests. Unit tests quick list here. And I can just recommend you checking out, which is it? Run debug tests until failure. Really cool feature if you have some flaky tests. But yeah, let's go back. This is particularly a point, and you see we actually also have some inline buttons here to say you want to skip here, which is basically moving. I don't like the name, to be honest. Moving the execution pointer, and this one here is it will break at this point. Once it hits this point, it will suspend the debugger. But anyway, let's say we have this statement here, which is executed. And of course, this is also a place where this selection shortcut really helps, because what you can do, in this case, it doesn't work. I don't know why, but usually it should work, that it evaluates the expression. You know, when you shrink down selection, etc., it should evaluate that. We can actually put one there. But let's say, yeah, let's say you want to go into print people, but you know, first get people will be executed, then filter people, then print people. But with this step into method, what you do get is like a selection of where you want to go automatically. This was previously called smart step into, but then you just pick, okay, and I want to go into print people, and there you go. Now we could go on, and I will set the breakpoint back here again, just to show you. We should hit it again, yeah. So now we can, you know, expand. This is the way how it should work. Expand 3, and this should actually show for true. A debugger in my head wasn't working for a second, but yeah, this should actually also work. I don't know why, but you can actually also put that here into the watches, and show it here. Then, by the way, this is pretty cool as well. Let's stop it for a moment. What we can do is print person, let's say, and make this conditional, of course. Is this the best place? No, let me see. Oh yeah, anyway. Oh no, let's use this one here. Make this conditional. Let's say this is an array. Make it works better for my example. And you have completion here, people. I can't hit the dot. What the heck? Okay. Now, okay. And this is an array, so I should use length, right? I will use count anyway. But oh god. Writer will make it length after fact still. This is also something that works normally in the editor, and this is just to show you that this whole thing here, this dialog here, has the same features as the normal editor. Okay, and okay, but by the way, this is also a small but nice feature. If you have conditional breakpoints, you know, writing the condition usually takes a bit of time. Now you accidentally remove that. No, because when you want to remove it and it's conditional, so to say, it's more difficult to restore, yeah, then you will get asked. So you can say, okay, confirm. I will confirm in this case. And I think the last thing I want to show you are dependent breakpoints. This is, let's say we want to debug the print person method, but only in print person is called, let's say, six times, yeah. In this case, it's called 6 times. Come on, yeah, revert. 6 times, but I want to debug it in the context of, let's say, Martin. Yeah, this is a common use case, for instance, in gaming engines, where you have one method that calls very, very frequently, like debug. But let's say you only want to a method called update. Sorry, update is called quite frequently per second. But let's say you want to debug a part of the update method only after another method was called, which doesn't get called so often. So one good example is I had a game, which is a great showcase actually, but I won't use it right here, where you have to hit blocks which are at the top of the play field, let's say, and the ball comes and you have to hit that box. So then I can put up a breakpoint in my box was hit method and say I don't want to suspend execution. I just want to use that for tracking, so that then it becomes yellow. And for the other one in the update method, which is called more frequently, I go ahead and say disable until hitting the following breakpoint. I will use my tracking breakpoint basically. Yeah. So disable until hitting the following breakpoint, and then afterwards you can say disable again or leave enabled. And now when I debug that, then we should end up in the print person, but with Martin as the person to print. So let's try this. By the way, NeonCat is also one of the most important plugins. Okay, and I know Khalid is the first. Okay, yeah, because we hit that breakpoint, and Khalid is the first in the collection, so we will end up with Khalid. But we won't end up with Tim, Josh, Chris, because they have been printed to console already. Yeah. Okay, I think that's it. Let's stop for here. If you have any questions, I'm still happy to answer. Do I have a closing slide? I think yes. I hope this was how do you say, informative to you. Like I said, if you have questions afterwards, really make sure or be aware that we are very responsive on Twitter. Stu knows that for sure. I know. But also, if you prefer a mail, feel free to reach out. And yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for your time. I hope it was helpful to you. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Matthias. Brilliant. Yeah, super useful. There's lots of little tips there that I'm going to be taking away. I use Rider every day pretty much, and have done for like the last 4 years. I use it. I've also used it with like Xamarin and F#. The F# support's really good as well. So yeah, thanks very much. Super useful. My pleasure. Please feel free to unmute yourselves, everyone, with whatever questions you might have.
F#, this is the crazy thing. Yeah, F# is actually done by a single person in our team. This is insane. I have to say. C# support, I think we have around 4 really active people. But yeah, I think there's also much more going on, particularly with new language features.
Yeah, and I'm using the EAP at the moment with some C#10 features, and it's got the big ones. It's got the namespace declarations, which you mentioned. It's got the global usings, and so yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Does anybody know here? Because I'm sort of coming back to .NET and I'm trying to catch up from old school. But the killer feature for me would be if I could get it to work with WSL. That would absolutely blow me away. Any ideas when that might happen? Because I know that I think RubyMine, IntelliJ can work with WSL, but Rider can't yet.
So yeah, me personally, I don't particularly work with WSL, but I know there was a blog post around it very recently. This is really not something that I can answer because I simply don't use it. Yeah. So really feel free to reach out and ping me somewhere, and I will make sure to get the right person to ask. Yeah, at least that I can offer. But yeah, that's the thing about Rider. It has such a wide range of fields of application. I'm lucky that I also have Unity in my arsenal. But you know, everything it's so much. Yeah. But yeah, definitely make sure to reach out, and then I can make sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there was a question by Rapton. I use .trace and .memory as well. Are these the same like the ones built into Rider? Well, it used the same infrastructure, yeah. But .memory, for instance, the application, I think meanwhile, I don't want to lie, but one of the applications meanwhile uses Avalonia also, at least for some parts. We have an Avalonia webinar. If you're interested, you can watch it. But yeah, the standalone version has some additional features, of course. So there's always the trade-off of having some features integrated. I know you can cover for, or you didn't ask about .cover, but traces, I think, profiling and stuff like that also does work inside Rider. Yeah, if you have anything more specific, feel free to reach out. And one last one, I promise, no worries. Are there any plans to implement line-by-line execution time during debugging? So yeah, I get what you're saying, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. There are some things planned around debugging, which is, for instance, predictive debugger, which shows you which statements are going to be executed based on the current knowledge of Rider. But execution time, I'm not entirely sure. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you can see it after a .trace run. But again, I don't use that feature very often. Yeah. Any more questions? My pleasure. Yeah, I think I don't have anything else to say. I mean, not after the fact that I finished now. Otherwise, I do have plenty of stuff. You know, I haven't even touched run configurations, which is another cool feature because you can group different things together.
I was going to ask about that because I think we had a chat on Twitter, and there was, so Unity had this sort of toolbar where you could put in like ad hoc command line arguments. And I think was that being looked at as a thing
You mean
to bring
that
in?
easy arcs, right?
Easy arcs, yeah.
Yeah, I remember, but that was for Unreal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, for the Unity version.
I can follow up with
Also, before I forget, that isn't there like a hidden menu with like flags where you can just sort of tweak settings? I used to go to it quite a bit, and I can't find it anymore. I can't remember where it's moved to.
Registry.
That's it. The secret menu, right? Okay, that's it. I'm going to be playing around with that.
I will give a small Easter egg hint, since you also said
Yes.
you're using the EAP. We will introduce a new navbar. Check it out.
Okay.
I'm not too sure if it's and again here, yeah, don't search manually or something, but try it out. I don't use the EAP, that's why that yes I do, but for some reason it's the old one. Try it. You know, I'm using the EAP in a different way than others probably, so it doesn't show in this case. But yeah, check for the new navbar. I've seen it in a couple of places, but I'm not sure. Maybe they've enabled it already, but the toolbar looks a bit different by now. Much cooler for my taste, actually. It takes a moment to get muscle memory right. That for sure. But overall, the new one is more helpful, more. I don't know which attribute to fit in there. And yeah, regarding easy arcs, I can follow up with Sasha Pirogov, who's I think was answering at that time. But you can also ask him yourself if you want. I think he was responding at that time. I don't know. I don't use it. I only remember there was something called easy arcs when you said that, but I've never used it. Yeah. Plenty of stuff with Rider.
Yeah, it's awesome. Honestly, it's my favorite IDE, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I gotta say with my open source project, and by the way, maybe you're interested for one of the upcoming meetups anytime if you want. But there are so many things where this is helpful to kind of tame that whole project. Like currently, I'm in the process of splitting up projects, and what I do, and there was just a discussion about this, about why do we even need to put namespaces and class names here? Why can't it be inferred from folder structure and file name, right? And I just came back to that discussion today and said, actually, it's cool because when I reorganize in projects, I don't immediately have to take the baggage of the renaming with me, but I can just put the file there. The namespace will be the same. The type name will be the same. And once I'm done, I can say, where is it? I think it's in the refactoring. I can say adjust namespace for the whole solution. And then in the very last step, I will do all the changes for namespaces. I think this is still one of the features that only ReSharper and Rider has, if I'm not mistaken. I don't use other IDEs that often, to be honest.
Yep. I didn't know that was a thing. Oh, cool. Yeah, I know that Simon Kropp, he always chimes in saying we shouldn't be using namespaces anyway for like non-libraries for like apps and stuff. Everything should just go in one namespace. But I don't think he's going to win that argument. I think we're very used to having like, everything.
But at least with the file scope, you don't have this indentation anymore. I mean, that's a big plus. Yeah. Yeah, I do see his point. Yeah.